Suzi, hebu kamwone. Ni ule dem tulikuwa tunaambiwa.
Kwani amefanya?
Hizi shop zote 3 ni zake. Na next door anachukua pia.
Na imagine tuko na haka kitu kamoja tu.
Na ni bodyguard zako na wana.
Nasikia wanamshughulikia everything. ATM zake, credit card zake 24/7.
Hadi usiku.
Kwani 24/7 inamaanisha?
That means wanamlipia hata bill zake pia.
KRA, NHIF, UEFA. Nafanyiwa zote akiwa ametulia tu hivi.
Kitu kingine nasikia ni eti so secure.
Kwani kuna banki yake, si mtu kama hizi utakamtoa anaenda kwa bank.
Nasikia hiyo katu hivi. The whole day kwa tablet akifanywa kila kitu.
Na hao bodyguards wake ndio umpelekea do kwa majuu.
Unaona wale wawili wa soap au mfanyia bulk payments.
Nilisikia ni ati local accounts zake, foreign accounts zake anashughulikiwa.
Haki no wonder business yake imegrow hivyo Lazima kuna banki yake special.
Your banking team is at your fingertips. Go digital. Visit coopbank.co.ke and click on new internet banking.
Oya ni aje, mimi ndo Jonte Fresh. Mimi ndio nimetambulika hii Gikomba yote sekta ya manguo. Jumi transform nguo ordinary za mtush zenye ziuka mna hii harufu ya bail into the freshest igikosi yote. Siri ni hii real mpya ya pink. Na kushow mtush zinang'ara kung'ara kushinda kamera. So clean, so fresh. Ma customer unaisana na hii story. Ninatumia aerial touch of down mpya tu.
Industry committee.
Oya ni aje, mimi ndo Jonte Fresh. Mimi ndio nimetambulika hii Gikomba yote sekta ya manguo. Jumi transform nguo ordinary za mtush zenye ziuka mna hii harufu ya bail into the freshest igikosi yote. Siri ni hii real mpya ya pink. Na kushow mtush zinang'ara kung'ara kushinda kamera. So clean, so fresh. Ma customer unaisana na hii story. Ninatumia aerial touch of down mpya tu.
July 7th, a day Kenyans remember a struggle for multi-partyism that took place on the 7th of July 1990. We have a special feature on this. We also shine light on criminal gangs that have infiltrated the border industry, committing crime with no care. For this and more, welcome on board. But first, a look at the stories making headlines. Reminisce the struggle for democracy 30 years since the Saba took place.
Na mambo haya ya bangi imekuwa madhara mengi kwa vijana wetu.
A man has been nabbed in Kakamega County growing bang worth 100,000 shillings in his farm. Welcome on board. Kenyans have today marked the Saba Day, a day when protesters in Kenya demanded for multi-party democracy in 1990. Kenyans have always marked the day with several activities, among them pushing for better living conditions from the government amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Bushebi Jr. takes us back to where it all started.
Back in 1990, two political figures went to Kagen House in Nairobi's Moi Avenue. Controversial former Kitutu Masaba MP George Anyona and his neighbor in Madaraka Estate Njeru Gathagu's mission was to meet Kenneth Matiba, who had fallen in bad books of the ruling party KANU and thrown into political cold. Their meeting with Kenneth Matiba had been organized by former powerful cabinet minister Simeon Nyachae, who was now being treated as a KANU pariah. Matiba had been stripped of his ministerial positions and KANU posts, During Kenyatta's time, Matiba had backed a motion in parliament led by his colleague former President Mwai Kibaki that made Kenya a one-party state in June 1988. Fast forward to 1990, and KANU had betrayed both of them. Kibaki too had been demoted from vice president and was now the health minister. Kenneth Matiba made a decision that would change his destiny. On May 23rd in 1990, Matiba let out a political tsunami. With former cabinet minister Charles Rubia, he called a press conference in which he demanded the introduction of multi-party democracy. He also announced that there would be a rally on July 7th at Kamkunji, Nairobi. Hands stretched out into the air. Songs, bullet sounds, sirens, flashing of the two-finger V salute, and massive brutal beating by the police on Rated Road to Kamkunji grounds characterized the dreaded day in 1990. Iconic images of Martin Shikuku, James Orengo, Philip Gachoka and Rumba Kinuthia is etched in the minds of some 20 million Kenyans who were alive on the fateful day that marked the struggle for political pluralism in the country. The day is known by its Swahili translation, Saba Saba, in reference to the 7th day of the 7th month. It was the grey cold morning of Saturday, July 7th in 1990. Reaching Kamkunji had acquired an urgency, symbolizing a break in the rivers of the political repression. An attempted coup d'etat by junior Air Force officers 8 years earlier had floundered and given Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, only 4 years into his presidency, the excuse to turn the screws on all opposition. Dissent had been growing in Kenya since Moi began consolidating political power by changing the constitution to ban multi-party politics and detaining critics, with some fleeing into exile. But the failed coup emboldened Moi to take away judges' security of tenure and to blatantly rig the 1988 elections and filled parliament with his lieutenants. The build-up of an outcry for a change still rang in the minds and hearts of many Kenyans then, leading to the 7th day of July 1990. Saba Saba Day, a day remembered when the nationwide protests that took place on that day rocked the country. Kenyans took to the streets to demand free elections and multi-party system inclusion into the constitution. The politicians who had called for the protests, Kenneth Matiba and Charles Rubia, were arrested days before the protest day. Other organizers of the day, such as Njeru Gatsangu, George Anyona, Raila Odinga, among others, were beaten up and detained by the then tyrannical dictator President Moi. The seismic Saba Saba event was the first serious organized challenge to repression through defiance in Kenya. From onset, the Moi government declared the Kamkunji meeting illegal and arrested Kenneth Matiba, Charles Rubia and Raila Odinga, three of the senior politicians who were organizing it, before subsequently detaining them without trial. 16 months after Saba Saba, Moi grudgingly capitulated and agreed to term limits and to repealing constitutional bans on multi-party political organizing.
Glad to inform Kenyans that I have today assented to the bill as a sign of my commitment to political reform. When the elections are called, I urge all contestants to ensure that they conduct their campaign in a mature and peaceful manner.
Within months of the return of political pluralism, some 19 new political parties had been registered by dint of the efforts of state operatives, who also engineered a split inside the opposition forum for the Restoration of Democracy Ford Party. However, 30 years on, many of the people who are at the forefront of the movement have died or have been accommodated by the state.
And tell them we are the people.
Today, Kenya marks the 30th Saba Saba anniversary that comes at a time of great political apprehension, with the country in the throes of an economic meltdown and in the midst of a coronavirus pandemic. With the elections that will determine who will be the Kenya's next president just 2 years away, the fear that the country is slipping back into those bad black days of Moi and Moism has been echoed by many Kenyans. For Maisha TV, Bushabi Jr.
And the national government has introduced a special unit to investigate the rising cases of children abduction and killings. The Labour and Social Protection Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelugui said that the government's new approach will prioritize the cases of missing children, which have left many families in distress.
This is not affecting only children, but affecting also the adults. We've seen this in our cities. This is something that we must deal as a country. So this department will be tasked to ensure they get to the bottom of the challenge that we have in this country on abduction and killing of children. Why would you want to reach out to me by punishing my children? Why would you target a child because of a parent's mistake? Why don't you engage the parent? And then our laws are very clear and our laws are robust. Our judiciary is effective now. It's becoming efficient.
And police officers in Likuyani sub-county in Kakamega County have arrested a man in connection to 100,000 Kenyan shillings worth of bang that was seized in his home. The 26-year-old was apprehended in his home where 360 stems of the narcotic plant were uprooted in his farm. Confirming the incident, the Soy Sub-Location Assistant Chief Bonvancha Lugado said that police officers attached to Likuyani Station led by the OCS Samuel Akori, who were on crackdown on illicit brew and other drugs, raided the compound of Manasseh Amwai, where they found the bank estimated to fetch over 100,000 Kenyan shillings.
Na mambo haya ya bangi imekuwa madhara mengi kwa vijana wetu, na ni madawa ambayo yanachangia sana kutoa nidhamu kwa watoto, na swala hili limekuwa kero kwetu.
Criminals have infiltrated the border businesses and are using it as a ruse to commit crimes. The trend has raised concern within security agents as the thugs use the threat to escape the arrest. We prepared a report on this, specifically on some of the causes of this, with the question being who exactly is to blame.
Armed gangs have infiltrated border trade and are killing, maiming, kidnapping, raping and robbing innocent people. The latest victim being the traffic police officer in Roysambu underpass, where in a short video captured by a dash cam, the officer was seen sneaking on his phone before a pedestrian passenger aboard a motorcycle quickly snatched it and the rider sped up. The officer was thrown into a moment of confusion before he quickly gathered his thoughts and seemingly asked another motorcyclist to go after the suspect. Members of the public will be finding themselves in a sticky spot following the increased cases of threats, thefts and menace that some of the border operators portray in the industry. Some criminals also pose as riders before committing robbery with violence against unsuspecting passengers. According to the National Crime Research Center, the most prevalent motorcycle-related crimes committed by the border riders were causing death by dangerous riding at 79.5%, general stealing 76.7%, breach of public order and creating disturbance 66.2%, assault 57.0%, 0%, robbery and robbery with violence 52.9%. The industry has also been linked to drug trafficking, kidnapping, defilement and rape. The main causes of border related crimes include unemployment and idleness, poverty, drug and substance abuse, non-regulation of the sector, greed and desire for quick money, and weak law enforcement.
Unajua vijana wako wenyewe kweli wamesoma, lakini kazi haiko. Sasa mtu utapata anaangalia kwa upande wa masomo yake, na unajua kijana akienda shuleni anasoma kupata kazi ili apate kitu ambacho kitamsaidia kwa upande wa maisha yake. Imagine amesoma, ameweka certificate yake kwa nyumba, na huku ikifika mahali ako na familia yake na hana chochote, na familia inahitaji. Sasa akiangalia ile intention yenye alikuwa nayo kwa upande wa kusoma na maisha inamsukuma brother, sasa inafika mahali inamsukuma mpaka aingie kwa upande wa wizi.
Others include peer pressure, illiteracy, criminal minds and tendencies, insecurity, poor infrastructure, high cost of living, corruption, ease of access to firearms through porous Kenyan border, drought and hunger, uncoordinated border circles, political incitement, non-sharing of information with security agencies and tribalism.
Katika Kenya, kabla pikipiki sikuje, wizi ilikuwa inaendelea. Watu wanauawa, nini, ngombe za watu zinaenda. Sasa mtu akisema kwamba pikipiki ndio zinajangia kwa upande wa wizi, ili hali watu wa pikipiki wananyongwa wakiuawa. Sasa sijui sisi wizi tunajangia huku pia tunajiua sisi wenyewe.
Maisha TV.
And one of the 36 candidates shortlisted for the appointment of commissioners for Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) has withdrawn his candidature. Abdallah Mohammed opted out of the interview session on Wednesday, where he was to appear with two others after the Kenya Methodist University disowned his degree certificate. In a letter to the chairperson of the selection panel, Elizabeth Muli, the university Vice Chancellor confirmed that Abdallah was not a student of the Kenya Methodist University, and therefore the academic certificate was not issued by the Kenya Methodist University and is therefore a forgery. Muhammad was to be interviewed alongside Abdrizak Arale Nuno and Ann Mukali Kusia at the county hall. The shortlisted candidates are seeking to replace the 4 IEBC commissioners who resigned after the 2017 general elections. Those who resigned were Roslyn Akombe, Paul Krugat, Margaret Mwachanya, and Connie Maina. Service delivery to Nandi County residents might stall if the land tussle between the county government and the national government over a disputed piece of land intensify. The tussle involving the 6.6 hectares piece of land at Chemundu Chiefs Camp has attracted the attention of the Intergovernmental Technical Relations Committee in an effort to solve the matter. Philip Simiu tells us more.
The land tussles for years has fueled the inmost between two levels of government over disputed piece of land. The critical issue has been to establish the legal ownership of title deed after it emerged that the land has two title deeds, with both the national and county government claiming the ownership. The national government has put a DCC office, chief's camp and police post, while county government has put up polytechnic, Chemundu dispensary and CDF office. Officials from the National Land Commission and Intergovernmental Committee towards the disputed area to familiarize themselves with the matter and receive preliminaries from the parties and the public towards solving the dispute.
We do hope that the issue of ownership, when it is resolved, and also the proper planning of this land, 6.6 hectares, for the common use of the various departments, the two levels of government, because ultimately the service, the benefit is to the local citizenry. Mwananchi wa kawaida ndiye anafaidika kwa huduma, and therefore we are here to listen to the wananchi.
The officials, led by the Intergovernmental Technical Relation Committee Acting Chairperson John Burugu, said the two levels of government must harmoniously coexist for better service delivery.
And therefore today it was a fact-finding mission. We will sit down again. We will also involve the public because planning is a matter of the public. Also public participation is very critical.
Accompanied by NLC Commissioners Esther Murugi and Professor James Tuyitek, officials said the fact-finding commission is to solve the disputes that arose during planning of the plot.
So today we wanted to find out how this land can be used harmoniously by the two organizations, and so that the physical planning department or in the Ministry of Lands can continue with the planning.
Sababu hii shamba wananchi wa Chemundu waliketi chini katika mkutano wao na wakagawa hii shamba jinsi ambavyo walitaka itumike.
Nandi County Land CS Philomena Bureti on his part welcomed the intervention by Intergovernmental Committee, saying solving the disputes will give way for proper planning.
You cannot do a lot of development unless you own the land, because in most cases we depend on outside assistance in giving funding for the development. So it is important for us to finalize this matter as quickly as possible and facilitate issuance of new titles, because like you've heard, there are 2 titles allowed.
Philip Simiu, Maisha TV.
And crossing borders, the president of Haiti, Jovenel Moise, has been killed. The 53-year-old was shot dead by a group of Spanish-speaking gunmen in a nighttime raid in his private residence at 1 a.m. on Wednesday, July 7th. According to a statement from the country's interim Prime Minister Claude Joseph, cited by international media, Moise's wife, Maritime Moise, was also injured in the attack. Joseph condemned the incident, terming it as hateful, inhumane and barbaric. He also added that all measures through Haiti's national police and authorities had been taken to guarantee the constituents of Caribbean country. Moise assumed the presidency by decree in 2017 after his predecessor Michael Martley stepped down. The country's parliament was dissolved after it failed to hold the elections. However, during his tenure, he faced accusations of corruption and at one point challenged by anti-government protests to resign as the president. In February 2021, Moise was asked to step down by opposition leaders, arguing that his term had lapsed and he was in office illegally. Well, thank you so much for keeping me company throughout the bulletin. That's all we had for Maisha Prime. My name is Rida Chebet Kering. Have a lovely night.
Hello 22bet. Oya ni aje? Poa sana. Unasikia naenda kuingia kwa account yangu napata kuna maziwa rada? Oh, hiyo ni Euro 2020 cashback. Tunapeana 8% kwa kila game ya Euro. Hadi kwa kila game? Hata zenye zimekunywa maji. Sasa nyinyi ndio mabazeng. Itabidi hadi nimechapia mbogi. Cheki Mamorio. Unasikia kuna 8% cashback ya nini ya Euro ya 22bet.
Get 100% bonus on your first deposit now. SMS join to 29252. 22bet. Tucheze, tushinde. 22.